there's a lot of very strange parallels between Buffy's life and my life. And so I just, she will always be like my number one heroine, like always, like she just speaks to me. And so I've always been like, I have both video games. I have all the musical soundtracks. There's 2, I think. I have all 7 seasons. I have an autographed Spike comic book from Dragon Con, like 2009. I have the necklace that Angel gives her the first episode. Like, I can't, like, it's just always been a show that there's never been another anything that has ever touched me the way that show did. So I'm like super passionate about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. In today's episode, we are doing another 5 influential horror movies episode with Robert Clark from Creepy and Geeky Podcast. So we connected, I think, on Twitter. I don't know if we follow each other on Instagram. I don't know, but I know we interact on Twitter a lot. Yes. And so I thought it would be fun to talk about his influential and why he picked them. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate you making time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do, your podcast, anything you want to share?
I'm the host of Creepy and Geeky Podcast. Got my t-shirt on today. I see you do too. Thank you for supporting. I'd say it started out as a podcast that I was going to do with my daughter. Originally, we were going to talk horror movies and stuff. She's kind of getting into them. And I have been getting heavier into them since about 2017, 2018, right around there. I've always liked horror movies. I've been watching them all my life, but I got really heavy into them around that time. Yeah. And so then, my kids didn't really care for them growing up. And then like my daughter's gotten into them later on. And so we started talking about it and we were like, okay, let's, I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
And so she was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so it started with her, we were going to do it. And then we all ended up moving in together. My daughter was at college at the time in her dorm. And then she moved back in with us. And then my son and his wife and my newborn grandson, we all moved into the same house. Okay. So we all live together now.
Yeah.
And so then my son was like, hey, I'd like to join and talk about stuff too. And I was like, okay, let's just do it all together. So that's how it kind of started out as that. But they're both really busy.
Yeah.
And so the first few episodes are with them, but after a certain point, I started getting guests, and it was always a plan to get guests anyway.
Yeah.
And it kind of evolved into a double feature podcast. And so that's kind of what I do now is every episode is a double feature of some sort, usually connected in some way.
Right.
We've been doing horror movies. I've got kind of deviating a little bit here in the next couple of months. I'll be doing a series of Quentin Tarantino episodes.
Ooh,
a bunch of guests that I had. And so it's been really fun. And you can go to creepyandgeeky.com and find out where you can listen to it. And
cool. Yeah. And I'll put all of Robert's information in the description for this episode as well. So you can follow and go find. Cool. That's cool that you got to do it with your kids for a little while. That's neat.
Yeah. I just put the latest episode I just put up was with them again. We recorded it a little while ago, but we got they've been so busy with work, and my daughter's still in school and everything. So that's been schedule wise has been kind of confusing getting them together. But once I got them together, we were able to do a new episode recently. So that's up
cool.
now.
Yeah. I know when I started, I did everything alone, and I didn't really know what the community was going to be like, what I was going to get myself into. And then, so when I started doing the 5 influential horror was really when I started meeting a lot more people, having a lot more conversations with all kinds of people from like all kinds of things from other podcasters, other YouTubers, other just horror fans in general, authors, and it's been like, I don't know that when I started the channel, I would have thought about doing things with so many different people, but it's like my favorite part about it now.
Oh
It's gotten
yeah.
to be like, when I do things by myself, I feel weird.
Yeah. No, I love doing the episodes with the kids. They're always a lot of fun, but I
Yeah.
love having new guests on, people who
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm starting to get kind of a stable of recurring guests.
Oh,
So
that's
it's been
nice.
nice
Yeah.
to get some people on
Yes.
that I enjoy talking to, and we can, there's now banter that I can do with the
Right.
people who come on often. And so
Yeah.
it's a lot more it's a lot of fun just, discovering these new people, like, and people who want to just jump on for an episode. And so it's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of great people on so far.
That's awesome. That's actually how I ended up with a co-host. So Tasha, my friend Tasha, that I do a lot. Well, I do a lot with her, but the main series that we do is our horror bestie breakdown. On Saturdays, we do movie breakdowns and horror movie breakdowns, and we do and so we've done a couple of other things together. But she and I met because she had volunteered to do influential horror with me, and so
Awesome.
and we just hit it off, and we became like fast friends. Like we just immediately, like, we talk every day now, and then so.
Yeah.
We had kind of we started this podcast series on this for every other Saturday. Now we do it every Saturday, and she and I we just got along so well and we were doing other episodes together, and she's just a big part of my content and was a huge part of helping support me like when we first met. So I just so I finally asked her like last month to finally just like officially be like a co-host. And that was how it was, just like this random time where we just kept doing stuff together, and we just had a great time every time. And I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to talk about your top 5 influential horror movies. Sorry, I pulled this up really quick. My phone blacked out on me. Okay. So your first one is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes. Yeah, from 1992, starring Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins,
all the greats.
It's it's like it's such a great cast. It's so funny too, because I've been watching horror movies off and on as a kid. I'd seen all the Freddys and Jasons up until that point, everything. But I would say that for Bram Stoker's Dracula is influential in a way because it opened up the world of horror in a way, because I was used to like the slasher kind of stuff, growing up in the 80s.
Right.
You get a lot, you had a heavy dose of that. And I hadn't really ever watched the like Universal Monster stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I think I'd seen little bits and pieces here and there.
Sure.
I mean, who hasn't?
Right.
But Bram Stoker's Dracula, it was kind of a throwback. It was more of the Gothic storytelling, more of the way that it was filmed was more old school. He used a lot of old techniques. Francis Ford Coppola, the director, did. And it introduced me to Gary Oldman early on in his career, and I just fell in love with him. He has been a favorite actor of mine ever since.
Yep.
And I see him in pretty much everything he's done.
Yeah.
And that movie just such a great introduction to him for me, and it's it hasn't let go since. But it's just, I love watching it. I probably haven't seen it in a couple of years. I watched it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I definitely need to add it to like a rotation, a heavy rotation, because it's just so good.
Yeah.
The narration by Anthony Hopkins. It's just like so many good actors, and like I know people give Keanu Reeves crap for his accent and everything like that, but he's really good in the movie.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the last time that I saw this one. I know it's been a while, but it was one that I saw really early. Like I was pretty young. I was pretty young the first time. So I mean, I probably didn't see it like when it first came out, but I was younger when I saw it for the first time because my dad is super into like just older horror stuff, like sci-fi, cheesy horror stuff. Like he's into like all kinds of stuff. And I'm pretty sure the first time I watched it was with him when I was probably not quite a teenager yet. And then I remember going back and seeing it. And this is the case with a lot of horror that I saw as a younger version of myself. watching it as an adult is a very different experience than watching it when you're younger. There's a lot of stuff that you don't get when you're younger.
Yeah.
And it is, and I think, and I am a huge fan of Gary Oldman as well. The first thing I ever saw him in was The Fifth Element.
Oh God,
that was like my introduction to him. But yes, the cast alone is makes the movie worth the watch if you've never seen, if you haven't seen it before. That's a great movie. I really like that one a lot, and it's definitely interesting to think about it going from watching slashers to that, because it's completely different, obviously. So that's interesting.
I saw it. I actually saw it in the theaters when it came out in 92.
Okay.
I was 18
at
the time. So it I'm old. And but so I saw it when it came out, and I just I fell in love with it in the theater right away. It was just, I don't know, it was just mesmerizing. It's such a fun, it's a serious movie that doesn't take itself fully serious as well.
I was just thinking the same thing.
And I think that's what it's and that's what I enjoy about it. It's I lean heavily into the horror comedy, but I do appreciate a lot of stuff that doesn't have comedy in it. I mean, this does have bits of comedy in it, but it's not a comedy per se.
Right.
But it's definitely you can tell it's enjoying being what it is without being too serious about it. I mean, Anthony Hopkins is kind of very over the top as Van Helsing. Jeez.
Yeah.
And then just everybody's doing a great job. I mean, Keanu Reeves is a little too serious in it, but I mean, he's trying really hard with that accent.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's just such a fun movie, and it was it's one of those ones that I go back to, and it's just, like I said, it's influential in the way that I started taking horror a little bit more seriously myself, because
that's cool.
Like I said, because you grow up with the slasher movies and all the cheesy stuff of the 80s and stuff, and then you get something a little bit more serious, and a little bit more old school. And I hadn't really been introduced to, I knew about the Universal monster movies, and I knew about the Hammer movies, but I didn't really dive into them. And even still, I haven't really dived into them very much even now. But
I don't think that I have seen all of the Universal monsters. I'm a big fan of the but I will say that I didn't have any sort of love or appreciation for them until I was really not that long ago, honestly, because I mean, if I had tried to watch something like that when I was 15, I probably would have, laughed my ass off and kept it moving. I wouldn't have thought anything of them. So I have such a deeper appreciation for them now. But that's a really good one. Gary Oldman is just such a well-rounded actor. There's nothing he can't do.
Yeah, exactly. I love and that's the other thing too that I love about him, is that he can subsume himself inside of a role. He just buries himself in that character, and sometimes under makeup and everything else, and he just becomes that character.
Yeah.
And and this is one of those times that, and it's just so excellent.
Yeah, no, he's great in that. I really like him a lot. Speaking of horror comedies, we'll go to your number 2.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. So I love the Evil Dead series.
Yeah.
And this is where it all starts at, is Army of Darkness. I watched this in the theater in 1993 when it came out, and I was just blown away. It's so dumb, but so fun. And at the time, I didn't even realize it was part of a franchise, because it's billed as Army of Darkness. It's not billed as Evil Dead 3 or anything. Sure. And so I had no clue about the Evil Dead series when it came out. Yeah. And so I, went into it completely blind and just fell in love with it. It's goofy. It's fun. It's, it's not scary. This is, one of those ones that, it's not a scary, the scares don't match up. It's more comedy than
way more comedy. For sure.
But it just, for me, it started a whole thing, because then when I did find out it was part of a series, I went back, I watched the other Evil Deads, I fell in love with those because each
Yeah.
one is just different in their own right. And I love the way Sam Raimi films movies,
Mhm.
and Bruce Campbell is an American treasure. And
Mhm.
it's just so fun.
It
It's
is
like
fun.
anybody who watches this and doesn't come out of it going, that was just a fun movie. It just hates
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, there's not a lot of thinking involved. I saw,
No.
so ironically, I actually saw this one first as well. Just because I have family members that were big fans. I saw it. Anytime it was on TV, we had to watch it. Like, I watched it all the time. And it wasn't
Right.
until, I don't know, maybe early 20s that I even, same thing. I didn't know it was part of like a franchise.
Yeah.
Then I was in my mid 20s, I think, and I saw Evil Dead for the first time, which is hard because whenever you go back and you watch something that's like that from the time frame that it
Yeah.
was from, it's hard to go in with the same level of appreciation for
Oh
it.
yeah.
But yeah, Army of Darkness is a super fun one. I love Bruce Campbell. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, Evil Dead, going back to watching Evil Dead is
Yeah.
like, especially if you've seen Army of Darkness and then going
Right.
back and going, wait, Evil Dead is the beginning? Like, one, it's like really rough because it was like made on such a low budget, but also two, because they were trying to take themselves a lot more seriously in that one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's comedy moments in it, but it's
Right.
much more of a serious movie.
Yeah.
And I think Evil Dead 2 is the great melding of the two. It's a scary
with that.
movie with the
Yeah.
comedy, and most people consider that the best of the franchise. And while I do think it's probably better in the way that it melds everything, because it does meld the horror and the comedy a lot better than Army of Darkness does, because Army of Darkness, like I said, takes it to a much more comedic level. It's more
Right.
action, and but Army of Darkness Forever will be the best one to me,
Sure.
just because it was my first, and it is the thing that made me fall in love with Sam Raimi's movies and everything else that has come since.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's favorite though. I was thinking about your list in general, and I don't think Army of Darkness was not on everybody's list, but I think the only other one that I never had an Evil Dead 2 either though. I had a couple, I think one or two people that did Evil Dead 1. But yeah, our Army of Darkness is one I hear a lot of people talk about being like being their favorite of the three, just because it was more like, Sam and Bruce got to like be themselves. Like they were just like, this was just like they're like, this is us kind of project, and it shows, but it's still, it didn't necessarily ruin the integrity of the series to me either, though. I think it's a great, like to your point too, is like, it's like stages, I guess. Like this is, one is the way that it is. It's meant to be more serious, a little more scary, out there. And then 2 is the middle ground. And then, the third is the like really crazy, silly, funny one. So I think it's well done.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, and then later on they went and did Ash versus Evil Dead.
Of course.
And, that gets like pretty wild and crazy. It's not as like fantastical as Army of Darkness, but I think it's a little bit more slapsticky than Evil Dead 2 is.
I haven't seen any of it.
Oh wow, yeah, you should definitely check that out. It's really fun. If you like the Evil Dead series at all, Ash versus Evil Dead is
fun.
On par with it. And is
how many is it finished, or is there?
Yeah, it's 3 seasons. They finished after 3 seasons.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I think they're only like 10 episodes each, like half-hour episodes, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I have to check. I think it's been on my list forever, but series are so hard for me.
It's on Netflix, but don't quote me.
Oh, okay. Well, it's probably, I feel like I thought it was streaming on something at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, series just take up so much time. It's hard when you do horror content to like make a lot of time. Like I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, and I still haven't had time to watch. I still haven't had time. So like it's
you gotta make time.
I know. I need to. I'm so glad. Like nothing so far, knock on wood, has been spoiled for me. Thank God.
Oh, wow.
But I know. Especially
you're
being
lucky.
Active on socials. Like I'm really impressed that the whole thing hadn't been ruined for me. So Yeah, but no, Army of Darkness is a good one. I like the Evil Dead franchise a lot. This is a fact I did not know that I learned when I did another influential, I think. Yeah. There's another podcast that I've done episodes with called You Run Podcast. He's based in the UK. And one of his influential was Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors.
Yes.
It's the third one, right? So he was like, we were talking about facts about this movie. And so apparently at one point, the glove for Freddy went missing during filming. Did you know this?
Yeah. It's in
the
cabin. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that or not. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
awesome.
There's been a back and forth between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi with Evil Dead and some of the things, because I think in the Evil Dead 1 there's a poster for Last House on the Left.
Okay.
So it's been like a little wink and nod between the two of them since
back
then.
And forth. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I never even and I guess I just never, and I hadn't watched it since I learned that. But I just like, man, next time I watch it, I'm gonna have to look for it because I just didn't. No idea. Thought that was interesting anyway. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So your number 3, I'm super excited about because this is one of my favorite franchises ever, which is Scream.
Yes, the original Scream. Yeah, this one hit me like hard when it came out. I think I was working at a movie theater at the time. I don't know. It's hazy at best. But yeah, so like I said, I'm old. But so 96, this came out in 96, and I just fell in love with it immediately. It is a perfect blending of horror and comedy for me, and the cast is so good, the story is so good. The meta-ness of it all, just like how it reveres and pokes fun at horror movies at the same time. Yes. And that's what's great about it too, especially coming from one of the masters of the industry. Right. It's just, it's crazy because it hit everybody. Nobody was expecting something that good. And it came out and became so popular. They fast-tracked that sequel in less than a year. Scream 2 was out. Yep. And, but this one kind of, like I said, I'd watched horror movies, off and on, and it's always been kind of off and on. But with the Scream franchise, I fell in love with it so much that and then everything was coming out after that. Like there were so many movies that came out in the wake of that. Horror got a refresh because in the early to mid 90s, it was kind of not dying per se, but it was languishing. Yes. And so now when Scream hit out, it hit that refresh button and everybody's like, okay, let's throw everything we can. Let's do all these teen-centered horror movies. Yes. And, good or bad, it helped revive the genre in the industry. So it really helped my love of horror just keep solidifying little by little. So
I feel like that's just kind of what Wes always did. He took whatever was like dying and like breathed new life into it and made it like this big thing. And it's like crazy to think about what like we would have had, like if he was still around. But yes, so Scream was the first like full franchise that I ever watched. So like when I saw I had an older sister that was like my like, let's not tell parents and watch horror movies kind of situation. And because I was pretty young when Scream came out, but I saw Scream, and then I think by the time I saw the first one, the second one was already out as well. So I didn't see them when they were like super new, but it was like we saw the first one, I was immediately obsessed. So I saw the second one, and then I just watched all of them every time they came out. Like through the next however long. And so but I remember like not just being so like involved, like so invested in what is happening to these people. Yeah. And it's so, as you said it perfectly, it's very respectfully pokes fun at this subgenre. And it's like, and one of the things that like, so did you, small side tangent, did you like 5?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You did. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know like there's people who were like tearing it apart. I absolutely loved 5. Like
I loved it. Yeah.
I loved it too. I was so this doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes when horror movies like really just hit me and check all my boxes, I get like really overwhelmed by them. And that's how I felt when I left the theater. I was so overwhelmed with how much I loved it that when I tried to do like my no spoiler review for socials, I'm just like a rambling mess because I just couldn't get my thoughts together. But yeah, no, I love Scream. I actually, if I hadn't ordered this when I did, I probably would have worn one of my Scream shirts because I have like several Ghostface ones and a really cool one with the Woodsboro sign. But anyway, I digress. That's awesome. No, I'm a huge Scream fan, and it was the first, like I said, full franchise that I grew with. Because a lot of stuff that I saw the first of, I didn't see the rest of them until I was much older. So like Evil Dead, Poltergeist is another one. I saw the first one when I was really way too young to ever watch it.
Well, there's still a lot I haven't seen that I grew up with too that I just never saw until I was an adult. Yeah.
But Scream was not like that. That was one that I always made a point to see because I love that franchise so much.
Oh, same. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, every one that came out I saw in the theaters, and I had them on video every time they came out. I had I love Scream so much that when it came out on VHS back in 96 or 97 or whatever, DVDs didn't come out till 97. So so they were still doing VHS, and they were doing VHS for years later. But I got a collector's set of the first Scream movie. It was a double tape set, and the first tape was just the movie, and then the second tape was the movie with audio commentary. And then
that's cool
at the end. Yeah. So they started doing stuff like that towards the end of tape, I think, because DVD was about to come out, so they were like, let's start throwing the special features on
things.
So, and then and then when DVDs came out, they were still doing that with a lot of the tapes because they were trying to balance it out for they didn't want to screw over all the VHS people. So but it's it was great because I could watch a tape and listen to Wes and whoever else talk about it. But back to your point about that. Wes, like, so Wes Craven, like, he's had that weird career where he's had like 3 really big genre defining movies, and with Last House on the Left, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream, and his filmography's been kind of up and down between there. But having 3 of the most genre defining movies is like super impressive. Nobody gets that. Like, people get maybe 1, and you got to redefine it 3 times. And, and like you said with Scream, it's poking fun at the genre, but it also, once you get to the next movies and the franchise as a whole, it starts to poke fun at itself with the stab movies and stuff. And that's another part that I love about it, that it's a franchise that it pokes fun at itself and doesn't take itself that seriously. And that's what I liked about the new one too, was that it's like, okay, we know we're honoring this franchise, but we're not going too serious. We're not it's still going to poke fun at the legacy and everything. It's still like one of the most consistent franchises in horror. Like, there's like maybe 1 or 2 other franchises that you could say is just as consistent and super rare. So I'm excited. Today they just announced that Samara Weaving has been cast in Scream 6. So
I didn't see that.
So she was in the movie Ready or Not.
Ready or Not. That was such a great movie.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I was like happy to see that they grabbed her for the new one too. So I was like,
she's cool. Yeah.
So
I actually, and I'll have to edit the name in because I can't remember the name of the podcast, and I don't like that, so I need to put it in it. But I actually won a Blu-ray of Scream 5, like right after it came out on the podcast. I did entered in like a giveaway, and I was like, I don't even own any other Blu-rays. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I just don't. Like, I usually buy them on digital, or I have like DVDs, or Blu-ray's never been anything that I just like bought. So I was like super excited. I was like, Scream 5 is my first Blu-ray. Awesome. Not as cool as your tapes, but I felt like I needed to nudge that.
I don't even have the tapes anymore, so.
Oh no.
No, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
moves, and everything over the
Yeah.
years of just things get away. I
Oh,
have
I
quite the
know.
Blu-ray collection, but
Yeah.
but I don't. But I also like to, like you said, buying digital. I buy a lot on digital as well. So
Yeah. Because then you can watch it
it's so
wherever. You always
convenient.
have
Yeah.
it. It's easier. Yeah.
I like having the physicals, don't get me wrong, but if I also have it
Sure.
on digital, I just go right to the digital because it's so much
Yeah.
easier to just put
That's
it on.
true. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I loved Scream 5. I'm very very anxious to see the next one.
yes.
Like there's the more stuff that comes out, I'm just like, okay, just don't say anything else about it. Just like let's just wait. And when
Just
it comes
surprise
out,
us. Come on.
we'll just
Yeah.
all be surprised. I don't want to know anything else.
Wait for that first trailer to come out. Just let us
Yeah, just let us sit on it and make up our own things, and then we'll see. So I'm excited about it though. I love Scream. That's one that no matter what they do, I will absolutely be seeing it like the day that it comes out,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a franchise that I love, and that love will never go away.
So your number 4 is actually on my influential horror list.
Okay.
Which is the Blair Witch Project.
Yes. This one, I wouldn't say so. Found footage for me has always been kind of an iffy genre. I've recently I watched the Shudder documentary on found footage phenomenon, and so that made me interested in going and checking out something. Like I've watched a few here and there. I like the Paranormal Activity series and everything, but but I wouldn't say that like I'm a huge fan of the series overall. There's more misses than hits for me. It's
okay.
Well, I wouldn't even say there's misses. It's just a genre that's kind of okay for me. It doesn't wow me. There's certain movies that will, like the Paranormal franchise, the Blair Witch. I see you, the Paranormal Activity franchise, the Blair Witch franchise as well. So the Blair Witch one is one of those ones that I definitely enjoyed when it came out. So that was 99, and this one I did not get to see in theaters.
I didn't see this one in theaters either.
Yeah, at the time, I don't remember why. I think we were getting ready to move. I used to live in New Mexico, and then we were moving to Colorado. I currently live in Georgia, so it's completely different.
Where did you say you currently live?
Georgia.
Oh, me too.
No.
Yes, I live near
hilarious.
Atlanta.
Oh, I'm outside of Atlanta.
That's crazy.
That's so funny. Yeah,
I knew,
I
I
live
knew
a
we
little
figured out
west.
we were in the same time zone, but like I didn't realize we were in the same state.
That's hilarious.
That is funny.
Podcast meetup.
That's right. In Georgia, of all places.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's wild.
That is so wild. I never meet anybody that close.
Yeah, same. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, at the time I lived in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was by the time I heard about it, I was working in a hotel. And so I was working as a part-time night auditor, which is the person who just runs the desk at overnights, and you do like daily paperwork and stuff. Just kind of balancing the books and everything. So I was part-time on that, and then I also was doing part-time like security for the hotel as well. I would just walk the grounds and walk inside on the other days. And so on the other days, I got to know the other night auditor, and we would talk a lot about horror movies and stuff. And we both were excited about the Blair Witch Project and coming out because it was something new. Like nobody, there hadn't been much in the way of found footage before then. There'd been a few things, but nothing so high profile.
No.
And and the whole thing about it being possibly real,
sure,
was enticing. And it was one of the first movies to really use the internet in a way that a lot of people use it a little bit more for nowadays in terms of marketing and stuff. And so it really used it well, and it got the excitement going for it. And so we were really excited for it, and so that influenced us to try to write and make our own little stupid horror movie in the hotel. And so we both came up with the idea. We both kind of came up with, like, he wrote the script for the most part.
Yeah.
And, and I was the director, because I had the camera. And so we just kind of, and we both acted in it. And it
Yeah.
was, and we roped in a couple of the other employees to assist
Right.
with it. And so, we had a great time making this stupid short movie that, was really, really dumb. But I made a trailer for it. I'll send you the link for it.
You should.
But, I have it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's called The Third Shift, and it's just, a typical, like, guy stalking, kind of a slasher type deal.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's really, really bad. The trailers ends up being the best thing about the whole thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so it had that weird influence on us, at the time to create my own thing. It's funny too, because now I look back on it and it's like I should have made the movie into sort of a found footage type of movie, also influenced by that, but we were going more traditional.
Yeah.
And the movie itself was in because of the mythology that surrounded it is what captured my imagination, because it wasn't just the movie. There was also the Curse of the Blair Witch, documentary that kind of went into all the past stuff that she kind of hits on in the movie. It goes more in depth.
Right.
And then there was a book called The Blair Witch Dossier, which was like the material that the police collected afterward. Like, it's so fun. And it's so funny too, because like I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I didn't get like the end, like when he's standing there in the corner. It didn't hit me why that was scary until the funny thing is Cartoon Network, I think like a year later, was doing a thing called the Scooby-Doo Project. And it was a weekend marathon of just playing Scooby-Doo episodes all weekend long. And in between, when they would go to commercial breaks, they would do this mix of live action and animation with the Scooby Gang going out into the woods to go look for like a guy, some guy.
Okay.
And so it like follows along kind of the plot of Blair Witch Project. And it, at the end, Shaggy's in the corner going, "I'm scared, man." And it's hilarious. And for some reason, that's what made it click into my head what was so scary about that moment in the actual Blair Witch. It's such a weird, goofy thing. But
yeah, that's funny.
And it's so fun. I think you can find it on YouTube. Somebody's, I think, edited it all together to make it make sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's but it's really fun. It was a weird, goofy, like something like, why would Cartoon Network, like
of all things, right? Like
make this weird Scooby-Doo like mashup with Blair Witch, this like horror movie that's like crazy scary. It's like, it's not for kids, but it just worked really well, and I thought it was like awesome.
I've had, so my opinion, and I won't say what it is yet because I want to add to the Blair Witch thing, but the last movie that we're going to talk about, I didn't have like I didn't have like really good opinions on it first. It wasn't until I've talked to so many people that are fans, and I've talked to, and the truth is like, you can talk to 5 fans of the same movie and they're not going to tell you the same thing. Like, because everybody gets something different out of it. And it's the same thing with like, that's been like why when people pick, like, if there have been the same movies specifically for this series that I do with the influential horror, like, it doesn't matter, because what you say about the Blair Witch isn't the same thing that Scott from You Run said about Blair Witch. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's all very different. And there have been so many times where I've missed stuff, or just totally like didn't even understand what was going on. And it was just having a conversation about it with someone else from the perspective of them watching it. Like, you just get like, I love that. I love having conversations like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I love about, and exactly the same. Like, that's what I love about having the guests on my show, is because, you get a different perspective, you get different takes on things. There's a lot of classic horror movies that I don't like. I just find kind of meh. There's not stuff that I like. I'll put it out there. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't like The Shining. I don't care. It's like, yeah, I'll go there, but like it's fine. I like the visuals of it. I think the visuals are very good.
It's a
But I'm
stunning
not a
movie.
Stanley
Yeah.
Kubrick fan, and I'm
Oh,
definitely not a Jack Nicholson fan. I think Jack Nicholson plays the same guy every time. He plays Jack Nicholson. He plays crazy all the time. He's, and to be fair, like I've seen him in other movies before I saw The Shining. So
okay.
basically I'd seen him kind of playing that character type over and over again, kind of the crazy, just out there
Yeah.
guy. And
Yeah.
so then going back and seeing him play, in The Shining, I'm like, okay, it's the same character I've seen him play. This is like, and don't get me wrong, like I appreciate the story, like as a Stephen King fan and everything, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the cinematography on it, but beyond that, I just don't have an appreciation for it like a lot of other people do in the
Yeah.
fandom. And but I think that's what's great is that not everything I like is going to be people's favorite either.
Sure.
And that's what's fun about having these conversations is that we can, as long as people are respectful and can have disagreements on that.
Yeah.
Just because I don't like something doesn't make me think that it's necessarily a bad movie. It's a bad movie for me.
Right. It didn't work for me. It wasn't effective for me. Yeah.
And so I think that's what's great about, like you said, with the next movie on my list that you didn't appreciate it at first. And maybe now you have a little bit better of an appreciation for it after talking to other people about it. That, and even if you didn't, that's fine. Not every movie is for everybody.
That's true.
There's a lot that, like I said, Shining isn't the only classic horror movie that I don't really care about. So, it's there's lots that I do love and that we can all connect on. Like I said, most of these movies, that we've talked about so far, you enjoy as well. So
so found footage is my favorite subgenre of horror. That's why I laughed. I have
I knew I was poking you with that one.
It's my everything. Like it's my favorite. Except for recently, because I feel like all the ones I've watched recently have all been the same, and I've been like really trying to find some different stuff which exists. You just gotta look for it. But found footage is my favorite subgenre, and I didn't really get into found footage until after. So I saw the Blair Witch and I loved it. But by the time I saw Blair Witch, it had been out for a while. Because it took me until I was mid late 20s before I really started getting more into like real horror versus like what I'll call like TV horror,
Right.
And it was just one of those things where I remember seeing it and it like terrified me. And this was, of course, after the hype of the promoting it and the marketing for it had already died down. Like all of that was already gone. Everybody knew it wasn't real, and it still terrified me. And I loved it. And I think I just started doing a new collaboration with horror author Tom Reimer, and we do found footage Fridays. And I love found footage. So but the Blair Witch is there's no denying its influence on that subgenre. Because I've even seen non-found footage movies take Blair Witch Project approaches to scenes and storytelling, and it's such a phenomenal film. And you learn about the more that you like it, the more you learn about it. So that's when you start learning about the things you talked about. You start learning about the things that it did to what they did to them to make them start really acting like crazy and feeling isolated, and the no eating thing, and the all of those kind of things that play into what made all of this feel very real. And I that's it's just a phenomenal movie. And I think I don't know very many people that are as into found footage as much as I am, but I like that even people who don't like found footage can appreciate the Blair Witch Project for what it is.
Yeah. I think in general, you find most people even people who don't like it, they acknowledge it for its impact on the genre and on movies in general. I mean, it's one of the most successful, if not the most successful, independent film ever made. So
it is
in terms of dollars. So
dollars and cents. Yeah. So your last one is Midsummer. Midsummer.
Yeah. So, connecting to that Fey legend, in a way, that folklore.
Yes.
Folklore is another one of those ones that I've never really been super into. I like a
Yeah, it's
few
hit
of
or
them.
miss for me. Yeah.
Witch, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Witch. I like Midsummer. Midsummer's one of those ones that I liked when I was coming into horror. Like I said, around 2017, 2018,
Mhm.
uh, that Hereditary, Ari Aster's first movie was coming out, and that hit me like a truck. Like that movie was so good, and it was so different in a way that everybody talks about elevated horror and everything, and everybody hates that in the horror,
Yeah.
and it's true. Like
Yeah.
nobody like. But I mean, I think that when you talk about something like Hereditary and Midsummer, that's usually what people will point to as what
Really
are kind of an
anything from
elevated horror.
A24. That's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
go-to.
A24. Yeah.
A24 is elevated horror. Right. Yeah.
And so, so I would say, yeah, elevated horror to an extent. Like I consider it's different. Just his movies are definitely on a different level.
I agree.
They're not going for really the jump scares. They're going for the whole mood.
Yeah.
And that's where I find it fascinating, is because he with Midsummer, with both movies, you are just uneasy the whole time.
Yeah.
And I like that the pacing of Midsummer is that you're getting it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Pun not intended. But it's a slow burn that you get, but there are some slow burn movies where they're just kind of dull the whole time, and then maybe the last 15 to 30 minutes you get some excitement.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like how the first Halloween movie goes. The first Halloween movie is kind of a slow burn. The first hour is kind of just them
Just build up
trying to find
a
stuff. There's a few things here and there
yeah.
happening, but nothing
Yeah.
really exciting until the very end. And so, but what Ari Aster seems to be able to do is to keep you engaged and gives you those little like bits of like it's uneasy the whole time, but it gives you enough jolts through the whole movie, like
Mhm.
at different parts, to keep you going. So you're interested, you're never bored. And with Midsummer, it's just you're getting to explore this new, um, not necessarily new, but a different environment. It's
Yeah.
all in daylight, so you're not,
It's true.
none of the horror is getting hidden in the dark like most horror movies,
Yeah.
and so it's all just right there in your face. You're just like constantly just going, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, is his movies, but Midsummer's especially. I don't know what it is about Midsummer specifically over even Hereditary, that's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite movies of all time at this point too, just because I don't
Yeah.
know, there's just something in it that just speaks to me, and I love the story. I love the cinematography, the visuals of it all. It just works for me in a way that not a lot of other folk horror does, but
Yeah.
this one does. So
Yeah.
it's,
Huh.
it's just a fun movie.
Yeah, I'm most people know this by now. Everybody's already shaking their heads, I know. So I'm not like a super big A24 fan. In fact,
Right.
of all the A24 movies I've seen, and I've seen a handful, I haven't seen all of them.
Yeah.
I have only liked one and I loved it, and it was Saint Maud. But I'm a sucker for like anything that pushes like religious boundaries. I'm in it, like it regardless.
Yeah.
So Midsummer for me, the one thing that I will say that I really loved about it is that, and it's one scene, but it just spoke to me about the movie in entirety. Like it was one scene, it was one moment, but it gave me a much broader, I guess, appreciation for the entire film. And it's the scene where they group cry, basically. I don't know.
Yes.
but I think mostly because as a woman, like I just like we struggle to create communities with women because we spend so much time fighting each other instead of being supportive to one another. And so to watch that scene, it was almost emotional. Like I felt like that's such a beautiful thing. I know, and everybody, like some people told me they laughed at that scene or they didn't think it was, but that scene, that one moment in that movie is the one thing that when I walked away, I was just like, that part really blew me away because it's like, it's this like, and have you seen Wicker Man?
I've seen the original, yes.
The original. So I felt like, and I know a lot of people have made the connections between the two, but what I liked is this was kind of like this modern retelling of it in the sense that like it focused on like the like family and like unity. And even though it was like, oh, crazy weird, like sense of that, but picking it apart, that's kind of what even from the beginning, that's what it was always about. This woman who's completely alone in the world, even when she has someone right next to her, you know, and it was, so those were the pieces that after I talked to, actually my co-host Tasha had Midsummer on her influential horror. And so that was actually why I watched it. I was not going to watch it. And, and I walked away and I was kind of like, there were some things I didn't like, some things I did like, but she and I talked about it and we talked about it a little bit after the fact too. And it just, every time we talk about it, I go back to that scene and I remember how it made me feel and what that means that a filmmaker could even do that. Right. Because I'm not a fan of Hereditary. Hereditary, I thought was too slow. The most craziest thing happens in the first half hour of the movie. And it was to me like the only thing that happened. Right. So it's a little hard for me to like, which is, I love Toni Collette, like love her. But that movie just didn't hit for me. But Midsummer was one that it took having conversations about to really look at it and pick apart the things that did actually speak to me that I didn't realize when I watched it the first time, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like that's one of the things that like when you get to the end of Midsummer and you know, she's smiling at the end. People are just like, why is she smiling? That's horrible. It's because she has found a community. She has found, you know, this thing. And you know, her, you know, Christian boyfriend is a horrible piece of shit.
From the beginning, like from the first moment we meet him.
Yeah. And in the director's cut, it's made even more so. If you haven't seen the director's cut,
I haven't, because it was so long. It's a long movie, you know. Like, and I don't mean
that.
I don't mean
adds like 20 to 30 minutes on top of it.
I know, and that's what I heard.
But it adds more depth to their relationship. So that you understand why it is such a bad relationship. I mean, I think you get enough of that through the movie itself. You know, the theatrical.
Yeah.
I think the director's cut gives you just that much more depth to it, and but yeah, you get that during this whole process during the movie, you get this sense of community coming around her and bringing her into them. She's lost everything. She lost her parents and her sister in one horrifying moment. And then the one person she thought she could depend on is a piece of shit. Sorry for cursing if it's.
That's okay. As long as we make it through the first 4 minutes, YouTube isn't as mean about it. We're good.
Sweet. So it's so by the time that you know you get to that point where she's like, you know, having that panic attack and just collapsing and having those women create that sense of community
immediately without hesitation.
With no questions. They're just right there.
They just do it. Yep.
And it brings that that community to her. This community's crazy and not good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, but they were there for her when nobody else was, and that is why at the end when she's smiling, I can embrace that. That
you get it. Yeah, it makes sense.
And so, you know, with everything, you know, they have fully brought her in. You know, it's toxic in its own way. It's brainwashing and everything in its own way.
It's a cult.
It's a cult. And so it's not great, but you understand where she is at that moment. And that's what I love about it, is because you know, she's just trading one bad for another bad in the end. But
that's true.
But it's a bad that she can accept.
Yeah.
And so definitely I agree with you that we
Yeah.
need to women in general need to have that sense of community.
Yep.
And I enjoy seeing that when I do see it come
Yeah.
together. And I mean, it's even same thing with like any community, with the horror community.
Yeah.
And we can all have differences. Don't get me wrong, we can all enjoy different aspects and stuff like that, but we should be coming together as that community of horror fans and supporting each other. And that's what I
Agreed.
love about doing stuff like this with you or with another podcast,
Yeah.
is we get to share our love for these movies and enjoy the whole talking about them.
All of
And
it. Yeah.
and we might not all agree. You're not as big a fan of Midsummer. I'm not a
Yeah.
big a fan of The Shining, but it's or found footage,
Or
you
enough
know,
footage.
you know, but we can find those commonalities and
Yeah.
embrace that. And
Yeah.
I think that's where just as a community, as a society, on the
Yeah.
bigger macro scale, stop finding these divisions and trying to create wedges against everything. Find these commonalities, the things that connect us, and
Yeah.
embrace those more than anything else. And let's come together as a whole rather
Yeah.
than
No,
anything
I
else.
agree. I think like it's hard because some people, and I'm thankful. I guess I've just been kind of fortunate, maybe. But I feel like when I have had like conversations with people and we don't agree on movies,
Yeah.
they don't go the way that I think I'm always scared they will.
Right.
But I think that's probably a very good indication of just who's kind of in the circle, right? Like the
Yeah,
people that I'm interacting
exactly.
with and the people I'm meeting and stuff. But I don't, and that's the thing is like my people that I like interact with all the time, like constantly give me shit about not liking A24. Constantly. I have there's
Yeah.
one woman that I interact with, and every time we interact, she leaves like a gift from either Midsummer or Hereditary, or just to like poke at the fact, because
Right.
it's known thing, right? And I think like there's a lot of people don't like stuff that I really really like.
Yeah.
And it's crazy like the conversations in general, because like I said, I really like, you never know how those things are going to go, because when
Yeah.
you're very passionate about something that you
Yeah.
love, right?
Yes.
Like your influential horror, or your favorite TV show or whatever it is, it becomes like a part of who you are. So then when you're
Oh, yeah.
talking about it, it gets like sometimes people get really heated, and it turns
yeah.
into this like big thing. It's like, well, it's just an opinion. Like we could just chit chat about it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like, and I think the only thing that I will say, I'm not perfect in this regard. The one thing I have that I will not tolerate is people who don't like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show, not the movie. That's like the core of my existence. And so if like, thankfully not too many people have been harsh about it, but I'm like, that's like one thing that like, I'm like, no, it's
Oh,
a
well,
good
let me
show.
change that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things.
No.
But yeah, I've been really it's been great. Like people are able to just talk about things, because so many people do love Hereditary and Midsummer and found footage and all these other things. Some people are really into slashers, some people are really into monsters,
Yeah.
like, and it's great, because like I've definitely walked away from countless movies with a bigger appreciation than I had before, just from hearing other people's love for them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. No, that's where I come at it from too, is like,
Yeah.
we can disagree. We can, find love in other things. Like, like I said, I've been watching, I've been watching a few more found footage movies after watching that documentary. And while there've been a couple that I enjoyed, most of them have just been kind of like middle of the road for me. They've been okay.
Yeah.
None have been super terrible or anything, but
Oh, there's
most
definitely
have
some
been just
super
kind
terrible
of,
ones.
oh yeah. No, but see, I was smart. I like after I watched that thing, I was like, okay, so I made a list of the ones that were in the documentary,
Yes.
and then I
That's
was
a
like,
place to
and
start.
then I asked people on Twitter, I was like, what are your favorite ones
I
that
remember
weren't like
that.
Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I made a list based on that. So I haven't seen any that are like terrible yet. There could be a couple of iffy ones that I haven't watched yet. But yeah, but I trying to stay away from like a lot of the really lower tier that I already like, because found footage is one of those ones that anybody can make. I can make
Yes.
found footage on my phone now,
Yep.
so
True.
it's you can make it, and it could be good, but so many
That's true.
people just they think they have a good idea, they don't, and
Yeah.
they do what they can with it.
Or it's a
I
really
I
good
don't think
idea and they have no
yeah
idea how to execute it. That happens all the
yeah
time. And like they take
true
this concept it's like the good and the bad of found footage is that
yeah
anybody can do it, right? So we get all these like really interesting filmmakers that we wouldn't have necessarily had access to before because they don't have the budgets to do things that are not found
yeah
footage. But the other side of it is anybody can do it. So it's
yeah
like,
yeah. No, and that's what's great. I think that's what's interesting about
yeah.
the internet and everything today is that,
Yeah.
with that you can do there's so many outlets now for not just filmmaking, for publishing, for all of this that,
All of it.
if you have an idea, you can make it if you can get, enough funds and you have the material and the equipment, do what you love,
Do it.
I think that's, it's like you and I with our podcasts.
Yeah.
I would love to be a director or whatever, but I don't have the skills or the real drive to do that. And
Yeah.
so I was just like, well, let me take, my passion and turn it into something I can do. I can afford a microphone. I
Yeah.
can,
Yes.
afford a few things here and there to, get me out on the internet
Yeah.
and to like, talk to people. And I've been fortunate, like I said, thankfully, I found, people here and there that will start spreading my, whenever I do want to reach out and get guests on the show, that
Yeah.
people will retweet me, and
Yeah.
I'll get connected to people that aren't
Yep.
in my circle yet.
Yep.
And so, that's been nice about that is,
Yeah.
even you, I think that you and I connected actually through Preston.
I think so.
he
Yeah.
he
Because
uh he
I did his
pointed out,
influential horror back
yeah,
in January. Yeah. Or February.
right.
Yeah.
And he did my podcast back in December. And so
Okay.
I think that he pointed me out to you, and you to me or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's what's been great about these circles is that sometimes the circles don't overlap
Mhm.
necessarily, but through one person or another they do. And I've been able to meet other people and talk some fun
Yeah.
stuff. And and just for your sake, I do like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Um,
Good. I'll actually let the episode go up then. No, I'm just kidding.
I enjoyed it quite a bit when it was on. I haven't watched it since it left the air. I watched it for a
Yeah.
good couple of years. Like I started with season 3. I think I petered out before it ended. Um,
Mhm.
but that was just because of scheduling and everything. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I'm not as big a fan of Joss Whedon
Joss Whedon's a
necessarily.
dick. We know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I did an
yeah.
episode a few
But the
weeks
show is
ago.
more than he was. So
Way more than he was.
way
Yeah,
more.
I did an episode on my top 10 Buffy moments, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago. And that's kind of like where I start. I'm like, all right, let's just get this out of the way. Joss Whedon sucks. We know, like, moving on.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're here to talk about
Absolutely.
Buffy.
Yes.
And yeah, no, I'm a massive Buffy fan. Like I don't even know why, or I couldn't even tell you. I just started watching the show while it was on TV. After it was way after the first season, because I remember I had to go back and watch, I think, the first and
Yeah.
second season. I think so. I think I
That's what
actually
happened to
started
me.
on third, was because it was on TV all the time. And I just became like super invested in
Oh
it.
yeah,
And it's weird.
I was obsessed with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too.
I
And
loved it.
Buffy, she had very odd parallels to my life, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a massive fan. So when I was a freshman in high school, my parents pulled me from the school that I was in, and I had to go to a new one, and it was
Oh,
like
okay.
they were Razorbacks. And so I was like, that's like, I remember I got at my first day at my new school and I watched the first episode of Buffy because I was like, we have this in common. But there's other like relationship things, not that I dated vampires, but relationship things. I
But you knew
actually
it.
had custody of my sister for a while when I was in my
Oh
20s.
wow.
Like, there's a lot of very strange
Interesting.
parallels between Buffy's life and my life. And so I just, she just is always, she will always be like my number one heroine. Like, always. Like, she just is, or she just speaks to me. And so I've always been like, I have both video games. I have all the musical soundtracks. There's 2, I think. I have all 7 seasons. I have an autographed Spike comic book from Dragon Con, like 2009. I have the
Yeah,
necklace that Angel
I met
gives
him too.
her the first episode. Like, I can't, like, it's just always been a show that has, there's never been another anything that has ever touched me the way that show did. So I'm like super passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I became obsessed with it and
Yeah.
enjoyed it for, like I said, for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the only reason why it kind of tapered off for me near the end was just because it's and I was watching it in bits and pieces in the last couple of seasons and stuff, but it just timing wise, just I kept missing it. And but I enjoyed it. I actually enjoy the movie as well. The
movie's fun.
Not connected to it all. It is fun.
The movie's super fun.
And again, don't care for Christy Swanson anymore, but because she's become too. But
but that movie is hysterical. It's so bad it's good.
Oh, Rubens? I mean, come on. It's so funny.
Yeah. So good.
Oh man, yeah, it's so good. It's not connected at all, but I mean, it's just a fun movie.
They're
and but the series, I connected really well with the series.
Anyway, but this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for making time. I appreciate it. I know it's like scheduling can be weird sometimes.
Oh no, but now knowing that you live so close, that's
right. That's so weird.
So funny. Yeah,
it is funny. You said Georgia, and I was like, let me just make sure I heard that correctly.
Right. I was like, why? What's so important about Georgia? Do you know people here?
My whole family.
Yeah.
Myself. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Funny. Oh my god. Yeah, we'll have to schedule something to
do
something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Well,
post it online.
Oh yes. Cool.
Podcaster meetup.
Well, we'll have to do something again in the future.
Thanks for having me on.
Fun. Yeah, of course. You're welcome back anytime. This was great.
I'm definitely gonna get you on mine, and we'll do a double feature of some sort. And
sure.
We'll have some fun with that.
Sounds good to me. Cool. All right. Well, I won't keep you. I'll let you get back to the rest of your day. And this comes out. I'm gonna send you the link as soon as it goes live. Anyway, this comes out not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
Oh wow! Okay.
Cool. So the last Tuesday in what month are we in? July.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've got my series of Tarantino. I'm shooting for August 1st. Will be the first episode of that.
Cool. Okay.
It'll go for all of August and most of September, I believe.
Okay.
If not all of September. So it'll be 8 episodes, and
wow,
it'll be a lot of fun. I've already recorded them all. I just got to edit them and
get them it's a whole nother project. Yeah.
That's why it's taken me a month and a half to get a new release.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Especially
if you have like a
sitting down just
vision.
to edit.
Yeah.
Most of mine is taking all the ums and awkward pauses and everything out of my.
Yeah, I've given up on that, but I know exactly what you mean. You never realize how much you do it until you have to watch it 100 times.
Yeah.
Or listen to it rather.
Yeah, that's been my thing. Is that I just with the latest episode that I just released, I actually did not take any of that out this time. I specifically like I'm going to try this and see how it is, and we'll see how it goes. And
I think we're more critical of ourselves than what listeners are anyway. Like people don't notice quite like we do.
Yeah. I notice it like it's funny too, because like for the most part I don't notice it, but then when I do notice it in somebody else's podcast, then it just becomes glaring to me, and like I can't.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh my god, because I'll say a lot sometimes, but I heard it on another podcast where somebody was just going, and I was like, oh wow. Like once I noticed it, and I was just like, wow, that's really annoying. And it's like and it was bad. Like I didn't want to be like, and I kept listening to it, and it eventually kind of blended back in. But it was just like for a good little chunk, I was like, "Wow, that's really bad." So, but
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I'll send you the link to this when this goes out, and I'll put all the stuff that you want in the description and stuff. So, thank you again so much. This was fun.
Yes, I had a lot of fun with this. I definitely willing to do this if you ever want me on again. I'll
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. We'll figure something out. Yeah. Buffy, something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to study up on that. It's been a long time since I've seen Buffy. I like literally like when it came out, and then never after have I.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but I haven't sat down to actually watch it. I enjoyed Angel too, so that was a good show.
Yeah, Angel was okay. I didn't like it as much as Buffy, but it's okay. Yeah. I maybe when I circle back, because I have a list of movies that I don't like that I plan to revisit.
Okay.
And so maybe when I do, because Hereditary is on that list, maybe when I do Hereditary, we can circle back.
I've got an episode. I'm going to be doing an episode with a recurring guest. We're doing the Ari Aster. We're doing his. Both of those movies, and not that I'm against coming on to yours to do it either, because I enjoy. I enjoy them enough to talk about them all the time. But yeah, I've got. We're talking those two movies plus his short films. So.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, we found them all on YouTube, so it's
okay.
Yeah, they're wild.
They probably that makes sense.
Yeah, they're just weird in their own ways. They're definitely not the same as his movies, but
oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, all right. Well, have a good rest of the day. I guess it's late afternoon. I'm so used to time differences.
Yeah, no, same. Like, oh my god, I've had people from the UK on the podcast, and so getting that dealt with. Like, I had to get up at like real early one morning because it's summertime. My wife's a teacher, and so it's summertime. I don't get up until like noon, and so somebody wanted to do it, and they could only be on like would have been like 9 or 10 our time. I was just like, I don't want to get up that early, but I'll do it.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome that you live in Georgia as well. So that makes things a lot easier for timing.
Yeah. It definitely does.
Yeah, because that's when I asked you, I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, 2:00. What time is it? Your place? Where are you at?
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Cool. Funny. All right, cool.
Funny that neither one of us even said Georgia until.
No, I didn't even think about it. I'm just so used to telling people Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Same.
So.
Cool.
All right. Let me let you go.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So yeah, that was my conversation with Robert Clark from Creepy and Geeky Podcast about his top 5 influential horror movies. I will put all of Robert's information in the description below, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm still super in love with this series. It's such a great time. I have met so many amazing people with so many fantastic perspectives on horror movies, and some movies I've never seen before, some I haven't talked about in a really long time. Always great conversation. So thank you guys so much for checking another episode out. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.